This is Gospel Spotlight 1440 WMKM. My name is Winnie the Caesar. I'm your host. This is Meaningful Making News. Our power scriptures for today are 2 Corinthians 1, 4, and 5, 10, 4, and 5. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God, to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imagination, and every high thought that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. Philippians 4:8. Finally, my brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are loving, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue and if there be any praise, think on these things. Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us. Our community information for today is Mommy Me, free diapers up to 3 years old, 313-757-5427, community information. Free pre-arrangement funeral workshops for your church or your organization. Receive a final wish organizer to help you get your documentations in order. Free cemetery workshops. Contact Claire Monroe 313-282-8131. Thank you for listening in today. Our pastor spotlight is Bishop Herman Stacy, Church Jehovah of Salam, and that is 1551 Burlingame. The phone number is 826-0484, and they're making a difference in the community. We have a dynamic young lady here today. Her name is Erica Gillis. Hi, Erica. How are you doing?
I'm fine, and you?
She is a motivational speaker, but I'm going to let her give you a little insight about her and her journey. I know you wear many hats, Erica, and
Yes.
that's a wonderful thing. But tell us a little bit about your journey. What brought you to wanting to be a motivational speaker?
Well, because I see so many people that allow their limitations to hinder them. They need a little extra pep in their step, a little guidance, a little push to help them get over it. So when I came up with the company, One Step Beyond You, they go, well, what's your mission statement? What's your mission statement? And I said, well, to not allow your limitations to hinder you, but instead take one step beyond you. And I think that is just powerful within itself.
I love that title, One Step Beyond You. It's a promotion of self-growth.
Yes.
Okay, tell us about your evolution, and the journey you've been going through.
Well, it started when I was a little girl. I remember coming home from school one day to find out that my father had left. And that kind of like sent me into a wild child syndrome. I began to get out of control. My mother lost me real fast. And then on top of that, when I turned 16 years old, I was diagnosed with migraines. But I had migraine episodes that will bring a grown man to his knees. So my migraine wasn't just like, oh, I lose my vision and you have spots dancing across your eyes. Like I would literally sometimes would be driving in the car and I would have to pull over because I couldn't see anymore, and people would have to come and pick me and the kids up because my vision was completely gone. And so how it would start is usually stress or extreme light will cause them to start, but then the spots will start dancing across my eyes. Then I would have sensitivity to light, and then I would just totally lose my vision. And so once the pain set in, the pain would be so severe it caused me to be nauseated. And then once I get nauseated, then I will vomit for like 4 to 6 hours. And once that starts, my body will go through changes. I would get real cold, then I would get real hot, then I would just get real weak till I just pass out on the bathroom floor. And either I laid there or somebody would come and pick me up and put me in the bed. But when I got into bed, I would stay in the bed for like 1 to 2 days. And it just seemed like my whole life would pass right by me because I couldn't move my head.
You couldn't function?
I couldn't function. It was just like that's kind of when my depression started, because I wasn't like normal teenagers. I couldn't live a normal life because I never knew when I would get sick. It just came on just like that. And so from there, so now I'm dealing with the daddy syndrome. I'm looking for love in all the wrong places. I'm getting sick all the time. So I knew that I really couldn't get a real job, because at that time, back then, migraines wasn't a diagnosis that would excuse you from work. Like, you would get fired. So I really didn't.
So when you had the headaches, you couldn't function. But then when you didn't have the headaches, you probably had too much time on your hands doing nothing, because you weren't able to work a regular job.
Right. And so like the jobs that I would get would be like, Target or Walmart or something like that. Nothing of any long-term value. And so I became a stripper, at 17. I was 17 years old when I decided. I was like, well, I'm surely I can make some money doing this. And I will never forget when I went to audition at the club. I remember I'm on stage, I'm dancing, and my thought process was, my mom and my dad didn't raise me to be like this. Like, I know this is not their vision that they had for me. I know that one day I was going to be on stage touching people's lives and changing them, but I don't think this is it, right?
So that was your conscious speaking.
That was my conscious speaking. And so after my dance was over, the DJ came and he threw like all this money on the stage. And my conscience went right out the window. I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
That's what a lot of young women, that's how they get hooked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But what happened was, because I was 17, I wasn't legal. I wasn't of legal age to dance in the club. And I didn't, have a fake ID or anything. So what that caused me to become an underground dancer. And being an underground dancer is a lot worse than being a dancer that you can go into the club and go on stage. That means that I had to dance at private parties. You never know what's happening at private parties. Like, my life basically was on the line at sometimes. And so you started self-medicating, like drinking and smoking, to just be able to get through the night. And so what was the factor that caused me to walk away from it? Mm-hmm. I hurt a family member. Like, when she looked at me and to find out like the event that I did, the place that I danced at that night, it had such an impact on her. She was very disappointed in me that I wasn't at least more choosier around about the people that I danced for. For me, it was like just about the money at that moment. But
you saw the hurt in this person.
I saw the hurt in her, and then I decided to walk away and leave it alone. But I was still like on this path of trying to figure out who I am, or what am I going to do? Like, am I ever going to find love? Like, I'm just always looking for love in all the wrong places.
Seeking money and love in the wrong places.
Yeah. So then that's when I met my kid's father, and I became pregnant at 17. And so he was 7 years older than I was, and my mother seen that he kind of slowed me down a little bit. And so she basically like packaged my suitcase, packed me up, and was like, here, you take her, because I can't do anything with her.
Maybe in her mind, she might have thought him being older might save you.
Yeah.
But Jesus saves.
Yeah. She did. And so that kind of was, off and on. But at 19, I tried to go to college for the first time. And what happened was, I got up one day. It was final exam day. It was so beautiful outside. I got dressed. I was smelling good. I was looking good. I'm ready to go to school. I walked down them stairs, opened that front door. The sun came shining in and pierced my eyes. I had to close the door, turn around, go back upstairs, and get back in the bed.
The headache. The
onset of that episode started. And my professor wouldn't let me take the final exam over. So that was kind of like the end of my reign of attempting to go to college that first time. So, yes.
So that was a door that appeared to close.
Mm-hmm.
What was the next door you went through?
So the next door, I'm in that first marriage and it was abusive. We went on to have a total of 3 kids. And I would be lying if I'm saying it was all physical. It was a lot of verbal. Like he took my self esteem and just like lowered it to the lowest that it can go for control and many other things, you know. But when I was 28 years old, it was like I woke up one day and the light bulb was like, ding, you don't have to take this. And I remember telling him I want a divorce. And he was like, you can't divorce me, you my wife. And I remember he set me down on the bed. For 4 hours, he talked to me for 4 hours, pointing at me in my forehead like he often did, treat me like I was a dog. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just crying and I'm crying and he talking. And then when he finished 4 hours later, he says, now are we staying together? And I remember wiping my tears and I said, I still want a divorce. That was the first time in my life that I began to get some type of backbone.
Stand up for yourself.
And get some type of strength, because I knew that if I was to have any type of life for my kids, then I had to make a stand in that moment. A lot of women
change and move on because their kids, they realize that their children deserve better, and thank God for that, you know. Let's talk about your kids, because you mentioned that one is what, in Taiwan?
Well, actually 2 are in Taiwan now. Yeah.
You know, let's talk about the success of you raising them to be productive and make leaps like that.
Well, because I'm an outgoing person. I come from a family of, like, my mom, she's outgoing. My daughter, she always wanted to live in China all her life. I asked her how did she come up with that. She said in 2nd grade, they did a project where each one of the kids had to write a country on a cue card. Then you go around and you talk to each one of your classmates. So she went to one of her classmates that had China and explained all these things about China. And she says, I'm going to China one day. So from that day, she had a pen pal on up until her adult years. And she still speaks to that same young lady that's in China. But so going forward, she's so smart and talented, all A's. Living in the city of Detroit, it didn't offer enough academics for her. Like, I've tried several different schools, the charter schools, and nothing offered what she needed. And so my sister started researching, and she said the L'Anse Creuse School District offer her everything that she need. So I left the house in Detroit and I moved out to Clinton Township, which put us in the L'Anse Creuse School District. And once she got out there is when she met this amazing teacher, Mr. Gao. He would come back and forth from China all the time, but he started teaching her more, you know, about...
So you put her in a situation where she could thrive.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And he introduced a program to her called the Nestle Y program. And your kid can either go to any country, not just China, but any country for either 6 weeks or 1 school year. It was a government-funded program through Michigan State. And so she applied. She got the 6 weeks, but she says, Mom, you said it yourself that in order for me to stop saying and ooh, I need to live there for a year. And I said, well, Deja, this is be your senior year. What do you mean you want to go to Taiwan for a year? And so she talked me into it, and I agreed. And what happened was that year that she was there, the high school they accepted her grades because she was technically a freshman in college in Taiwan. So the high school here accepted her grades in Taiwan for her senior year grades. So when she came home, she still walked across the stage with the senior class. However, while she was there, every week they had to do speeches on stage. And at the end of the year, this lady came up to her and said, I'm the principal. I know you don't know who I am. She says, but I've been watching you all year. I'd like to offer you a 4-year scholarship to come back and go to college here.
That's divine order.
Yes.
Well, how did your second child get there?
Well, because Deja's been there for about 3 years now, and she was struggling with homesick and wanting to come home and give up everything and come home. So I was going to leave and move there, but my son couldn't afford my bills. So between the two of them, he's 23. Between the two of us, he says, "Mom, I'll go." So he left his job at Chrysler and he moved to Taiwan this past December because he's a producer and an artist. So he raps and he makes music and he dances. And so I said, well, you go help your sister, and at the same time, you pursue your dream as well. So now my son has a TV deal. Like, he's been shooting a TV show all week. Like, they went to Taiwan and just thrived. They opened their own company.
That's divine synchronization.
Yes. They opened their own company. It's called Formosa Mosa, means Taiwan music.
So even after becoming a single mom, you were able to support your children into walking into their dream.
Yes, absolutely.
And then one day you wake up and what? They're gone in.
And I still have one more.
Okay.
He's 17.
Mm-hmm.
He was living in Connecticut with their father because he was a little bit out of control and I didn't know how to help him. So when he came home to visit, I said, I'm not sending you back. God told me I can't send you back. That I did the work on those two. I have to do the work on you. And so where we are now to where we were then, he's the producer of my show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's getting some really good training too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're opening up a division of the company for him as well because he wants to be a pro skater. So,
tell the audience the listeners about your show.
About the podcast? Well, the podcast is also called One Step Beyond You Podcast. However, I have different entrepreneurs and different guests on the show. And the core concept is, what challenges did you face? How can you overcome those challenges? And how can we use what you went through to help someone else?
That's some definite good answers and questions to that to help people, who might be going through similar things that your guests are going through. So that's very educational, I'm sure, to you and your listeners.
It is.
So how long have you had the podcast now?
Since April. Because in the beginning I was like, I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to be a coach. I want to do a podcast. And so I was actually in school for the first semester. And when my classes was over in March, then I went straight into developing the podcast. And the goal was to do a show every Monday, do a live show or record a release one every Monday. But I didn't have all the details lined up. So I had been doing good all up until maybe a couple weeks ago when some things kind of got in the way. So what I decided to do was break my show up into seasons. And so technically the shows we did before, they're season 1. And so now we're getting ready to shoot season 2. And season 2 will consist of 10 shows and they'll come out every Monday.
Okay. Tell us about your mentorship. That you've been having, people that have been willing to help you and support you. Because I think, that's the problem. A lot of times people just can't seem to connect with the right people to help them. And we need to be more willing to help one another to thrive and grow, especially in our culture.
Right. Well, just like my mentor said to me, each one teach one. So the people that fed into me was my pastor, my father, my mentor, my sisters, my brother. Like, I have a whole, like, you would believe the support system that I have because the people know what I've gone through in my past and they just want to see me happy. They want to see me excel. But then when I came to them with this dream and they see how the dream is not just for me, it's to help so many others. Everybody came on board to help bring this dream and this vision to where you see it today.
Wow. This is a really, really interesting story. Tell me about what made you decide to write a book.
Well, that's a funny story. When I said I want to be a motivational speaker, I want to be a coach, I want to do a podcast, I want to write a book. So I wrote it on my vision board in my office at home. And it started as just something as simple as that. But then for some reason, the number 7 has been stuck with me and I can't get rid of it.
Completion, a number of completion.
and I never found, so you have to give me the scripture because I never even did the research on the number 7. So now when you go in my office, it says 7 books, 7 this, 7 that. The day that my mentor came and he began his healing process was on the 7th day of the month. Like I don't know what it is about this number 7.
It keeps popping up.
Yeah, like really strong.
What has been one of the most educational experiences in your life?
Oh, it's been so many. It's been so many. I think well, I could talk about when Pastor Leon, when I met Pastor Leon, right? God drew me to this church. And actually one of my coworkers said, oh, because I would come down here to Triumph. But it's such a far drive from living out in Clinton Township. Mm-hmm. She says, it's a black church out here. I can help you find it. So she Googled it and she referred me to that church. So I remember going in the door and I was like, see this man come out with a jogging suit and gym shoes. I was like, what kind of church is this? When he got on stage and he opened his mouth, the tears just started falling down my eyes. I knew then that this is a place I want to stay. So he
wasn't caught up into all that traditional stuff. Is he a preacher or a teacher?
He's both.
Okay.
And he relates to you in modern times. If you watch the podcast that I interview, I ask him, how is it that you can relate the Bible to modern times? That's just a gift that he has. Mm-hmm. I mean, he going to talk to you about Pookie and Baby. And when you finish, you like, dang, I'm Pookie or I'm Baby. You know what I mean? Like he just can relate. And he's 35 years old. And
that's why a lot of young people have a problem with the Bible. They need somebody to break it down so that they can relate in modern day English.
Mm-hmm. And so when he kept talking about Bible study, and I kept saying, I want to go to this Bible study, but I knew that I usually work on Wednesday. And God worked it out that something happened that I couldn't go to the second job. And I went to this Bible study and he talked. And after Bible study was over, I was standing there and he came up and he introduced me. And this is the first time really that a pastor ever came and talked to me in all my years of going to church. Mm. And he introduced himself and he says, I'm Pastor Leon. Who are you? And, you know, what brought you here? And I told him who I was. And I said, I just want you to know I've been crying every day for 1 year. And he says, why? I said, I don't know why. And he says, well, let's pray for you. So he prayed for me, him and the deacon, and it kind of dried up the tears, right? And I said, and he says, and we talked about the depression, and he gave me his cell phone number. And he says, text me, then I'm going to send you some scriptures. I've never had a pastor's phone number before, ever. And so he texted me them scriptures. And when I felt moments of depression coming on, I could call him and talk to him or text him. And then I text him and I said, can we have a meeting? And he said, sure. After Bible study, we can have a meeting. So that following week, I went in his office. I told him everything. Everything. I didn't even know you could tell a pastor stuff like that.
So you really needed to regurgitate all that you had been through.
Yes. I told him everything. And he gave me some counsel. And then he says, now what do you want to do? And that was the first time that I opened up my mouth and said I wanted to be a motivational speaker and I wanted to do a podcast and so forth. But that was the moment in my life when things began to change.
Tell me what gave you the slogan for your business? You know, give me the full meaning of that slogan.
Okay. Well, the idea just kind of came out of nowhere. When I tell you God has been putting things in my head, he really has just been bringing the ideals to me. And my COO and we were developing the concept of the business. And we were coming up with names. One step, this step, that step, like we were just, you know, and
bouncing the ball.
And the actual great ideal we had, we didn't even write it down that night. And so the next day we couldn't even remember what we said. So I'm at work one day and I told my boss, I said, I got to go to the doctor. Can I leave early? She said, yeah. And actually I went straight downtown and registered my business. Mm-hmm. And I'm there and at the name register's office. And it just came to me and I just wrote, one step beyond you. on the paper, just like that, and register the business.
That sort of summarizes your life, though, too, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's just
What's
everything.
the
Just
name of the book?
7 techniques of healing.
Is it out yet, or
No, it'll be out at the end of the month, or the beginning of next month. It's we're done with editing. I'm just making a few changes, and it goes to the publisher this weekend. And he says from the day I put the book in his hand, then give him 7 days from that day, and we'll be able to go and order it on Barnes and Nobles and Amazon.com.
so to the listeners? Your life is a testimony of what you can come through from headaches that just are almost unexplainable, from not being able to work a regular job, from being abused,
Yes.
from being not connected with your father, to finding a church that you could really relate to being able to let go of relationships that were not working for you and your children. You've been going through a dynamic transformation,
Yeah.
and to come to the point where you have your own motivational speaking, and that's something you had to learn to do for yourself, to bring yourself out of depression, to have a new book coming out, to be working your business and somebody else's business. You are truly a miracle walking.
Thank you.
And that is hope that the community can hold on to, because it's teaching us that no matter how things appear, if you can trust, focus, and not give up, fight the good fight of faith, God can transform your challenges and use them to take you to the next level, because all the things that challenge you at this point have brought you to a point where you can glorify God, help other people, and continue to help yourself. And also, your marriages end up motivating you to be the best mother you could be, and to have 2 children, living in
Taiwan, yes.
in Taiwan, and to be able to travel back and forth.
Yeah.
Won't he do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Won't he do
yeah.
it?
Because I know last year, my daughter had gotten into an accident in Taiwan. She was on her scooter and a car hit her. And when it sent her body into shock. So it sent her defense mechanisms down, so it couldn't fight off infection. So she ended up in the hospital for like 2 weeks. And I couldn't get to Taiwan. I didn't have the money. We had already purchased her ticket to come home, but I couldn't get there. So I had to rely on the other parents, that the Chinese parents in Taiwan, to go and take care of her. And that lesson that I learned is that I never want to be in a situation where I'm broke again. And so if I have to do anything necessary to make sure that I can help others in the process and save money so that I can get to my babies if need be, that was a valuable lesson for me.
Okay. To the listeners, how do they contact you if they're interested in watching your podcast, and how do they get a hold to your book? How do they contact you for motivation and inspiration? They need that information, how to contact you.
Well, they can go to my website, and you can get everything on the website. It's onestepbeyondyou.com. So that's the number 1 step, STEP, beyond, BEYOND, the letter U.com. And if you go to the website, it'll send you to the Facebook page. There's links on the Facebook page, which is One Step Beyond You / Erica Gillis on Facebook. I have my own YouTube channel. This is where you can see the podcast videos. The tickets for the event, you can purchase them either on Facebook. Is a link to my Eventbrite, or you can go on the website and purchase the tickets to the event. The event is October 20th. It's called Motivating Into Your Purpose. You will not walk away the same way that you came in.
Well, thank you, Erica, for being on the program. Thank you for allowing the Holy Spirit to transform your life, and who better to help other people transform their lives than somebody who has been through the valley of the shadow of death and came out with light all over you. Keep on shining, keep on helping people. This is Meaning Making News. My name is Juanita Caesar. Thank you again for listening in. Have a dynamic day. I think that's